What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Goblin League Cast, Episode 2, which will cover Week 1. Last week we did the preseason preview. Went through each team in every division and did a quick guess out of who we thought was going to do what in each division, how the standings were going to finish up, who we thought was going to win each division, and what the records were. So we're going to actually get into our first full week of the regular season. We got 7 items on our list that we're going to go through. We're going to do a review of the standings in each division. We're going to preview or talk about the previous week's matchups, how the matches played out, and how the games played out. We're going to preview upcoming week's matches, so we'll look at Week 2's matches. We're going to do a quick review of the betting cages and the Survivor board to see where everybody's at. We're going to do some odds on the betting cages for next week. And thanks for the host there, whoever just hosted. S. Hunter, thank you for the host. Number 6 on our list is we're going to look at a matchup of the week. I'm just going to look through and see which one looks kind of like a good close match, and we'll do a matchup of the week off that. And as we go on in future weeks, we'll get some matches that are pivotal for the division standings, that kind of thing. And then for highlights, the last thing, we'll do highlights. So, first things first, a review of the standings. We're going to come in here and do these in alphabetical order here. So we'll start with Broken Jaw. I think we still have one match left to be played here. We do. And that is Evil Smirk's Bloody Moons against, I don't remember who coaches that team, Novcaster's Nurgle Homeo, whatever the hell it was. Homeopathics. So can't really do much on that match yet, but we can look at the other two. So we had Voreal versus Tenkin. Ended up in a 2-2 draw. That's Voreal, or Tenkin is playing Necromantic. Voreal is playing, I don't remember off the top of my head, Undead. So that was a Necro versus Undead matchup. Interesting matchup, and it looks like Tenkin was giving Voreal a little bit of inducements on that. So, and then the other matchup was S. Hunter's Highland Red Royals against, is that Blog's Broken Neck? Yes. And it looks like S. Hunter's High Elves were able to pull the 1-0 win against the Orcs. So good win there for the High Elves to start the season off. I believe I took Blog to pick this division, or to win this division. I did at 6-2-2. So he's already got one of his 2 losses in Week 1. So not looking too good for me to start, is it? But the Elves were able to do elf things, I would imagine, and probably the Orcs didn't hurt him too much. We'll have to take a look and see. In fact, let's just do that. So it looks like the Orcs did have 12 armor breaks. They did not kill anybody. And it looks like the High Elves had 6 armor breaks with no kills. So let's see here. The Orcs inflicted 1 injury and 1 KO. The High Elves inflicted 2 KOs and 1 injury. So the Elves actually outbashed the Orcs here with 8 less blocks. Pretty interesting. That's kind of what you would expect to see there with the Elves winning a game that low scoring. You'd expect to see the Orcs not being able to do anything or accomplish anything. So, and then for the Undead and the Necro, the Undead 63 succeeded blocks to 41 succeeded blocks for the Necro. So the Undead were able to control the pitch here quite a bit. 22 extra blocks succeeded. That's quite a bit. He had 4 KOs for the Undead to 3 KOs for the Necro, and 2 injuries for the Undead to 1 injury for the Necro. The Necro did inflict a kill, though. Wonder if that kill regened. But a good hard-hitting game it looked like here, and some good touchdowns as well. So let's go look at those teams and see if anybody is actually hurt for their next game. Nothing hurt on the Necro side, and looks like the Superstar Wolf is still alive and kicking. And then for the Undead, we have nobody hurt on that roster, so pretty clean for both rosters going into the next match. For Blog's Orcs, going into week 2, he will have one lineman that is missed next game, it looks like, or potentially niggled. He is just a miss next game. And that looks like that's it for him. And then for the High Elves, for his week 2 matchup, looks like he is missing a lineman as well who took a move break, it looks like. Yes, a move break, smashed ankle. So the Elves had a pretty good first game there and very limited damage and did quite a bit of, or was able to pull off the 1-0 win and keep the Orcs from scoring, which is pretty good. A very good week for the High Elves there. So in the leaderboard after the first week with only 4 games played, or 2 games played, 4 teams playing, the High Elves have the outright lead at 1-0-0 right now. The Undead and Necro are tied for second with the 1 draw, and the Orcs are in last with this first loss of the season in this first week. So that is a review of the standings there. And looking at this week's matchups, let's look at next week's matchups. We have Voreal's Undead against the Nurgle. We haven't seen the Nurgle play yet this week, so we don't know exactly where they're at. And ideally, when we do these league casts, it's going to be on Monday nights when all matches should be played, because it should flip and roll to the next week on Monday before we start the league cast up. So we won't have this instance where we're having a few games unplayed because the full week hasn't been completed yet. This first week's always a little bit longer just because getting things in line with our week-to-week time frame of Monday to Monday. So we don't know what the Nurgle's done yet. We have the High Elves that are in first place going against Evil Smork's Orcs, which we don't know what these Orcs have done yet because they still have to play the Nurgle. And then we have Tinkin at home versus Blog's Orcs. So Blog's going to have to go into the Necro Stadium and pull a bit of an upset here to get back on track, I think. So that is it for Broken Jaw. Let's hit up Fractured Skull. I think we still have one match here. We do. Oni and Swerve. I thought they were supposed to try to play tonight, but I could be wrong on that. We had Cleveland Crushers, coached by Gunter, ended up drawing with Maniles Chaos. Both Chaos teams here ended up with a 1-1 draw. There was some good damage done here in this match, I believe. Some hard hitting and a lot of casualties. And then, of course, my Goblins. For those of you that may not have heard yet or saw, I was able to go in and pull the huge upset against the defending champion Lizards, coached by Detox. It was a pretty crazy game. I'll talk a little more about that here in a second. So we'll go look at the leaderboard, and same as the last division, I'm in first place by myself with by virtue of the week 1 win. The 2 teams that pulled the draw are tied for second, and then Detox, having lost his first match, is in fourth. The other 2 teams we just don't know about yet. I picked in this division, I picked Detox to still pull this one out with a 7-0-3 record. He's already got one of his 3 losses after week 1, so we'll see if he can turn it around or not. With the 2 Chaos teams here, let's see how their game went. We had 43 blocks succeeded for Gunter's Chaos to 46 blocks succeeded for Manile's Chaos. 6 KOs to 5 KOs in favor of Gunter. And then in favor of Manile was the casualties. 3 casualties to 2. And then 2 extra casualties with the kills. So 5 total casualties for Manile's Chaos, with 2 of those being kills. Pretty rough match there for the Cleveland Crushers. And I will have to go see what players got killed. But Manile's roster is still short on guys, and he does have a Beastman that will be out for the next game, which just so happens to be against my Dwarves, or my Goblins, and that is one of his 2 tackle pieces that will be out of that game. He took a miss next game. So he will have all 4 Chaos Warriors, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 4 Beastmen. So he'll have 3 Loner Beastmen, which will put him at, let's see, that's 50, 60, 70, 60. So, yeah. So a Loner Beastman is 60. So he'll have 180 more, which will put him at 1530, 1610. So he'll be giving me over 600 in inducements. So yeah, it should be a fun matchup next week against Manile. For the other matchup, my Goblins against Detox's Lizards. Detox had 41 blocks succeeded against my 34 blocks succeeded, so he outblocked me by 7. I inflicted 7 KOs to his 6 KOs. He inflicted 4 injuries total to my 2 injuries. One of his injury was a kill. That doesn't really speak volumes to how the game actually was and went, though. So we'll go over that here in just a second. But it was a great first game for the Goblins. They were able to go in and pull out and cause chaos and pull the upset with doing what they do best, just being crazy and having fun. And it was about a perfect storm type scenario game for Goblins, exactly what they hoped for. So in week 2, we have my Goblin Trotters at home against Manile's Lords of Emporia, the Chaos. So I'll get a chance at the beatdown Chaos group of Manile. Should be a tough, fun match. He likes to foul quite a bit, and I'm going to be fouling quite a bit with my Goblins as well. So should be a foul-a-palooza in that game. The next match is Swerve's Chaos against Gunter's Chaos. We don't know where Swerve's Chaos team is yet because he still is yet to play this week. And then for the final matchup, we have Detox's Lizards at home against Oni's Chaos. And again, we don't know about Oni's Chaos yet because he's still yet to play this week. So should be a fun week 2 there as well. And then we got Groin Strain. Groin Strain still has 1 match left to play as well. We have 3 matches left to play, and those are the 3. This match is Delavis going into the stadium of Coach Limbocha, his Dwarves. So Dwarves against Lizards there should be an interesting match. In the other 2 matches, no draws in this one. We had Sirens Orcs take down the other fresh Goblin team coached by Shushnik. Sirens Orcs win that 1-0. And then we had Arabi's team beat Loop's Orc team 2-1. And Arabi is playing Chaos, so the Chaos beat the Orcs there and beat them 2-1. So let's see what kind of damage was done here. The Chaos had 35 blocks succeeded, and he was outblocked by 14, as the Orcs, coached by Loop, had 49 blocks. The Chaos had a lot more damage done, though, or did a lot more damage, I should say, with 8 KOs as compared to the Orcs' 3 KOs. And the Chaos had 3 injuries as opposed to Loop's Orcs, who had 1 injury. And then Siren versus the Goblins. Siren's Orcs succeeded 40 blocks to Shushnik's 27. The Orcs had 2 KOs to the Goblins' 1 KO. The Orcs had 8 total injuries as compared to 0 injuries for the Goblins, and one of those injuries was a kill. So let's go look at those 4 teams and see exactly where they're sitting right here. The Goblins first. How many of those injuries were missed next games? None, it looks like. All badly hurt, besides the 1 kill anyway. So he'll have a full roster going into his next week's match. That's good. Siren's Orcs, who played the Goblins. Looks like he's going to have a full roster as well going into his next match. Arabi's Chaos will have a full roster going into week 2. 2 strength 5 pieces. So he's got 3 total strength 5 pieces. Pretty sick for a Chaos team. Excuse me. And then Loop's Orcs will have a miss next game, or a guy out in the next game, a Blitzer, who is move broke. So he just got the move break that negates the move boost. That sucks. That was a nice Blitzer there, but now he's taken back down a little bit. He still has the move 8 Blitzer, though, so that's nice. But that's just extra team bloat now for this guy with that move boost. All right, so in the standings here, we got Arabi in first, tied with Siren, both at 1-0-0. And then tied for second is Loop and Shushnik, both at 0-0-1. Still waiting for the last game to be played, however. And next week, we have Arabi's Chaos at home against the Goblins. I foresee that being a pretty simple game for Arabi and the Chaos. But you never know. The Goblins get that right game of the perfect dice, and things could go crazy. But I definitely like Arabi there. Loop's Orcs are at home against Limboch's Long Drawn Pirates, the dwarf team. Don't know what's going to happen here yet. We don't know how these dwarves are. We haven't seen them play, so don't really know how that's going to play out. And then the last matchup is Delavis's Lizards at home facing Siren's Orcs. Should be a very good matchup there, good close matchup. Could potentially be a matchup of the week next week. And last but not least, we have Smashed Hand. All 3 teams have played here. Angior's Moribundi has beaten the Tall Boys. I believe that is coached by Uldrig. And that is a Chaos Dwarf team. And Angior's team was a Necro team. The next matchup was Lizard Breaths and Bunch of Tools. Bunch of Tools wins that 1-0. Lizard Breaths is Chonkus's Dwarves. I'm sorry, Lizards. Chonkus's Lizards. And Bunch of Tools is McLean's Orcs. So the Orcs beat Chonkus's Lizards there. And then in the last match, Acropolis's Orcs lost 0-1 at home against Nefarious's Lizards. So the Lizards go in on the road and go into the Orc Stadium and upset them. I think a lot of people were expecting the Orcs to win that one. But Nefarious proves how good he is with his crazy iguana lizards. And he pulls the upset. Slight upset, but still an upset, I think. So, Angior and Uldrig. Angior with his Necro team, right? Wasn't that a Necro team? Yes. Necro team versus the Chaos Dwarves. 56 blocks succeeded for Uldrig and his Chaos Dwarves as opposed to 46 for the Necro. So outblocked by 10 the Necro were. They were out casualtied and out KO'd as well, as the Necro had 1 KO versus 3 KOs for the Chaos Dwarves. And the Chaos Dwarves had 4 injuries as opposed to 1 injury for the Necro. So the Chaos Dwarves pretty much beat the Necromantic team up all over the pitch, but still couldn't pull the draw out and ended up losing 2-1. We have a couple of highlight plays we will look at from this game later on as well. Supposedly there was a Bull Centaur that was had the camera focused on him quite a bit in the match, and we'll see exactly what he was able to do or not do. The next matchup, Bunch of Tools versus the Lizard Breaths. McLean's Orcs against Chonkus's Lizards. Holy jeez Louise. McLean's Orcs, 75 blocks succeeded. That is absolutely astonishing. Versus 36 blocks succeeded for the Lizards. That's double the amount of blocks that the Lizards had. An Orc team against a Lizard team should not outblock them by double. That is just absolute insanity. And not surprising, the Orcs out KO and out casualty the Lizards. 4 KOs for the Orcs, 1 KO for the Lizards. 3 injuries for the Orcs and no injuries for the Lizards. Wow. Yeah, that's an absolute controlling the pitch beat down there. And then the last match, Acropolis's Orcs against Nefarious's Lizards. Jeez, man. Acrop, a lot of blocks succeeded too. What in the world is with these huge number of blocks by these two Orc teams? So the Orcs succeed in 63 blocks. The Lizards 36 blocks. So again, almost doubled the amount of blocks on the Lizards. That's craziness. 5 KOs inflicted for the Orcs versus 3 for the Lizards. 7 injuries for the Orktown Raiders versus 1 injury for the Lizards. So one of the injuries for the Orcs was a kill. So the Orcs absolutely beat the Lizards beat them literally to death in one case. Just pounded on them, but they still lose 1-0. So go look at the teams for next week and see how they are going to line up. Chonks' Lizards will have a full roster, so that's good for him. Nefarious' Lizards is going to be missing some pieces. 2 Saurus. Oh, and his Crocs is the one that got beat, or died, I would imagine. So he'll be rebuying the Crocs. He's got enough money. But he will be minus 2 Saurus. Both of them are block Saurus. One is a miss next game, and the other one is potentially a move break. I don't know if he had the move break before or not. So he's either... No, yes, he did have the move break before because he's a miss next game for this match. The fractured leg's just a miss next game. So he already had the move break. So lucky for him, both Saurus injuries are just move breaks at this point. And he has a Skink, block move Skink, that is a miss next game as well. He already had the move break. So the Lizards took quite a hit. He might have a tough match his second match. We'll have to see who he's playing here in a little bit. Acropolis's Orcs, who put the beat down on those Lizards we just looked at, has a full roster going into week 2. McLean's Orcs, who put the beat down on Chonks' Lizards, has a full roster as well for the second week matchup. Angior's Necro has a full roster going into week 2. And
he had 4 regens.
Oh, he made all of his regens. Nice. And the Chaos Dwarves looks like they will have a full roster as well. So the only person really missing anything for the next week is Charlie's Lizards. And let's see how these matchups play out for the next week. The Tall Boys, the Chaos Dwarfs, are at home against Acropolis's Orcs. That should be a very tough, hard match for both coaches. Lots of guard, lots of hitting, and potentially some damage being done. Should be a tough matchup. Nefarious's Lizards, who are beat up, are going to be playing at home against McLean's Orcs. That's going to be a super tough matchup, missing 2 Saurus against McLean's Orcs. I have a feeling I'll be going with McLean's Orcs on this one. That's going to be a tough, tough matchup for Nefarious. And then Chonkus going against Angior in the last matchup of the week. So, that's it for our review of the standings, our previous week's matchups, and our upcoming matchups. Now we're going to look at the betting cages and survivor board review for week 1 with 3 matches still remaining. Let me pull this up on the screen here real quick. There we go. You guys might have to go full screen in order to see this, but the best I can do for now. Actually, I could zoom that page in, I think. Let me do that. Where is the zoom at here? Oh, I can do it this way. No, I can't. There we go. Oop. That should get it here. Let's see. Make it a little bit easier to read. There we go. Alright, so we had a total of 20 entries into the betting cages for this season. Lots of entries. Really well booked, which is good. I think that might be the most we've ever had in the betting cages. No, I think we've had more than 20 once before. But good start for the betting cages. We had... I need to actually take this down one more. There we go. So we can see the whole thing. There we go. So we had 15 people that took Tenkin to beat Voreal. 3 people took Voreal, 2 took a tie. So the 2 that picked the tie ended up being the winners there. But it looks like our numbers are actually a little wrong here. Because Voreal did not... Oh, wait a minute. I did put Voreal as the winner. Didn't they tie? I think I put the wrong thing there. I think they tied. They did tie, 2-2. Good thing we're going to do this review because we totally had that wrong, didn't we? There we go. That looks better. And then S. Hunter won there. So we'll double check these to make sure we got these right. So 2 people picked the tie here, and they got it right. That was Orabi and Evil Smirk. With the S. Hunter versus Blog matchup, 5 people took Blog, 11 took S. Hunter, and 4 took a tie. So 11 people getting the answer right there, or getting the pick right there against, or in this matchup. And that was Uldrig and Tenkin. S. Hunter picked himself. Nefarious, McLean, Manile, Limbocha, Evil Smirk, Delavis, Angior, and Acrop all picked S. Hunter to win that. In the Evil Smirk Novcaster matchup, which has not played yet, 3 coaches picked Evil Smirk, 9 picked Nov, and 8 picked a tie. For Fractured Skull, I ended up beating Detox. The other one ended up being a tie. Okay, so that's right. So in the Detox matchup with myself, not very surprising here, but everybody went with Detox, including myself. I even picked Detox to win. So he should have won. 90% of the time he would win that. But I was able to pull the upset, and nobody got a point in that matchup. For the Gunter and Manile matchup, 7 people took Gunter, 11 took Manile, and 2 took the tie, and they ended up tying. So the 2 that got it right were Uldrig and S. Hunter. Were the only 2 that got that one right. And then the third matchup in this division, which hasn't played yet, Swerve versus Oni. 7 people picked Oni, 9 picked Swerve, and 4 picked the tie. So, for Groin Strain, Siren won. Delavis hasn't played, and Orabi won, so those are right. In the Siren matchup, again, no surprise here. Everybody picked Siren to beat the Goblins of Shushnik, and all 20 people were correct. In the Loop and Siren matchup, 13 people picked Loop, 3 picked Orabi, and 4 picked a tie. And 3 people were right. Those 3 were Limbocha, Delavis, and Acropolis. All picked Orabi to win that one correctly. And in our matchup that hasn't played yet, Delavis versus Limbocha. 15 people picked Delavis, 3 picked Limbocha, and 2 picked the tie. For the last division, Smashed Hand, all 3 matches are done. We had Angior winning, we had McLean winning, and we had Nefarious winning. So those are all right. 6 people picked Angior, 10 picked Uldrig, 4 picked a tie. So the 6 that picked it right were Acropolis, Blog, Delavis, Detox, Limbocha, and Orabi. Those were the 6 that picked it right. For the Chonkus-McLean matchup, 1 person picked Chonkus, 1 picked a tie, and then 18 picked McLean. 18 people were right. The 2 that were not right were the tie, which was picked by Nefarious, and the Chonkus, which was picked by Orabi. And the last matchup, Nefarious versus Acrop. 8 people picked Acrop, 1 picked Nefarious, 11 picked a tie. And the one person that took Nefarious was Nefarious himself. He's the only one that believed in himself. Nobody else believed in him. So, after all of that, with 3 matchups still to play, the standings here, let's update this real quick. Sort. Bam, bam, do that. Alright, so our updated standings are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Alright. We have 3 coaches tied in first place with 5 picks correct so far. Acropolis, Delavis, Limbocha. We have 3 coaches tied in 4th place with 4 picks. That's Evil Smirk, S Hunter, and Oldrig. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tied for 7th place with 3 picks correct. That's Angior, Blog, Detox, Manile, McLean, Nefarious, Arabi, and Tinkin. And the last 6 coaches are in last place with 2 picks correct. And that's Siren, Gunter, Loop, Novcaster, myself, and Voreal. So that's where we currently stand on the standings there. Now let's go into week 2 and do our odds on week 2. Let's go with Broken Jaw first. Week 2, we have Voreal versus the Nurgle of who was that? Whose Nurgle team was that? I can't remember. Novcaster. So Voreal and Novcaster. I'd say without seeing the Nurgle yet and how they're gonna play, I got to go based off of just what I know of Novcaster and how I've seen his team build, and based off of what I've seen so far from Voreal. His Undead hung with the Necromantic of Tinkin, and I did not expect that in the first week. So I'm going to say that this is probably going to be pretty good odds to end in a tie. We'll just have to see how it goes. It's going to be a tough matchup either way. I think they're both capable of winning. But I'm going to give the odds here to be a tie. And actually, I believe that I have already made my betting cages picks. So let's actually come in here and look at my betting cages picks and see what I actually picked. There we go. I actually went with Voreal on this one, so we're gonna. That's where the odds are. Is what I think. Where I think it's gonna end. So we'll go with Voreal there. The next matchup will be the High Elves of S Hunter versus the Orcs of Evil Smirk. I think that the way the High Elves handled the Orcs pretty easily. The better built, better skilled orc team of Blog in week 1. I think the High Elves have a much easier time with Evil Smirk's orcs, especially if the armor dice and the armor breaks don't go the orcs' way. The elves are just going to run circles around them, I think. So, going to go with S Hunter here on my odds to win this. One. Week 2 here. He's starting to win me over, and I believe I picked S Hunter over here. I did. And then for the last matchup, I picked Necro and Blog, the Necro of Tinkin and Blog's Orcs. I actually picked that to end in a tie. I think I'm still going to stick with that. I feel like that wolf can make anything happen, but Blog's Orcs are very well built and capable to handle some of that. The guard and the strength and the craziness that the Tinkin can bring at them. So I could see this easily being a 1-1 tie or even a 2-2 tie. So that is... Oh, I went the wrong way. That is Broken Jaw, Fractured Skull. For week 2, we have My Goblins against Manile's Chaos. I think if the dice go well for me again, like they did last week against Detox's Lizards. And Manile's dice are not, they don't have to be bad, but they don't have to be great. If my dice are good and great and his dice are just average, I think I'll still have a chance to either get a draw or maybe even potentially pull the upset here as well. Just because Manile's Chaos team is so beat up right now. They're down to 8 players. He's going to be missing one of his 2 tackle pieces. It's going to be a tough matchup. He's still giving me over 600, and we're at my stadium, so star players are 50K cheaper. So I could easily go with, potentially I could go with Morgan Ripper and nothing else, but I won't do that. I'll probably just take Ripper and then maybe one other cheaper stars, and then get the 3 bribes and a wizard and all that other good stuff. But I still have the potential here to really cause some chaos here against this chaos team that I'm going to be playing. I actually did pick myself this week. It'll probably be one of the few weeks that I pick myself in betting cages this season. It might be the only week that I pick myself. And the reason why is just from what I just said. He's down to just 1 tackle piece. He's beat to hell. I just think if there's ever a week I could win, this would be the week that I would do it. The next game with Swerve's Chaos against Gunter's Chaos. Gunter got damaged quite a bit that first round. Lost a couple of really good pieces. Swerve's team I still think is great and is set to win this division. Or not, I'm sorry, I had Detox win this division, but I think I had Swerve in second. I did. So I still think Swerve's set to make a good run and potentially, contest for the division wins. So I think I had Swerve picked in this one. I do. So there's my odds for this matchup. It's on Swerve. And the last matchup is Detox's Lizards against Oni's Chaos. Detox and Oni always have fun, good matches. I think this one's going to be about the same. I don't think it's going to be, a crazy or a straightforward match. I think it's going to be crazy and fun. But I like Detox's Lizards to rebound after week 1 and to have a good game and the dice turn around a little bit, and I think he's able to handle the chaos of Oni pretty easily. Oni's going to give him some hard time, and it's going to be a good fun game, but I think Detox can handle it. And I did pick Detox in this one. Alright, so 6 down and 6 to go. Let's go to Groin Strain next. The next week, we got Arabi's Chaos against the Goblins of Shushnik. Pretty simple and easy pick here, I think. I don't think Shushnik's able to do anything with this Chaos team unless the dice are just completely in his favor. So Arabi it is. I'm 100% certain I took Arabi in my actual picks. I did. For the next matchup, Luke's Orcs against the Dwarves of Limbocha. I think this is a typical dwarf game. I think it's going to be a lot of congestion and clogging up in the center. Going to be some hitting, some potential takeoffs on both sides. I think this ends up in a 1-1 tie. I think they both score in their half. Excuse me. I think they both score in their offensive half and then are not able to get any defensive scores. So I see this being a 1-1 tie. And I did pick a tie over there. And then for Delavis and Siren, Delavis' team's kind of beat up a little bit, not skilled up as heavily as I would like to see it, or I pretty would imagine that he'd like to see it to be. Siren's orcs are very well skilled, and he's a really good orc coach. I think Siren could potentially win this one. If I had to give a lean to one of them winning, I would go with Siren. But you can never count out Skinks, so I'm going to go with a tie in this one. I think it ends in a 1-1 tie. Both teams score in their own half and don't get a defensive score. So, and I did pick a tie over there in the betting cages for this one. So, and then the last division, we have Smashed Hand. We've got Uldrig's Chaos Dwarves against the Orktown Raiders of Acrop, the Orcs. This is going to be just like the Dwarf Orc game I just talked about. I think it's going to be a hard-hitting game, lots of congestion. I think the Hobgoblins go down pretty easy once the Orcs get a hold of them. and it's going to put them down to, you know, the bulls and the blockers and maybe 1 or 2 hobs. But I definitely think this has the potential to end up in a tie. If one team would win, if I had to pick a winner, I'd probably go with the route of the Chaos Dwarves, just because of the bulls and the insane movement that they have. The slower orcs cannot keep up with those bulls if he was able to get a ball in one of the bulls' hands. But I think this most likely ends up in a tie. And I did pick a tie on my picks. The Lizards of Nefarious versus McLean's Orcs. I really like McLean's Orcs in this one because Nefarious's Lizards are beat to hell. He's missing a couple sores. I did pick a tie on this one in the betting cages, but I'm actually going to change that. So I'll go in and hit that here in just a second. Now that I've seen Charlie's team, the Nefarious's Lizards, it's so beat up, missing 2 sores. He's just going to have a rough time against these orcs, I think. But he does have skinks, and skinks can do craziness, so I am going to go with McLean in this one. However, I just have a great feeling about that one for him. And then the last matchup is Chonkus's Lizards against Angior's Necro. Angior, I think wins this one pretty easily. So I'm going to go with Angior, and I did pick Angior in the betting cages. So there you go. There's the picks. I am going to change my pick here real quick while it's on my mind. Changing.
You talked me into changing too.
The following pick to, when you change, actually quote your original post. Don't edit it. Quote it, and then under the quote, put the matchup that you're changing and what you're changing it to. Changing the following matchup to McLean. That way we have timestamps on it and everything. We're going to do that. Quote. And do that. Bam. Preview and make sure it looks right. It does. All right. All right then. Hey, Body Armor. I'm not going to be playing any Blood Bowl games. No, I am going to play some other games though after this. All right, and then we're going to go check out the Survivor board. We did have some coaches get hurt in the Survivor board this week. Gunter, 4 coaches picked him, and that was a tie, so that was a half a loss. 2 coaches picked Loop, and that was a loss, so that's a full point loss there. 1 coach picked Tenkin, which was a tie, so a half loss there. And then 9 people picked Detox to beat me, which was a full loss of a point. Guys that are already in are McLean, Siren, Angior, and S-Hunter, and we have 1 guy left waiting to play, and that's Delavis. So if we go look at this, we can see that Acrop picked both right. Angior picked Detox, so he had 1 wrong and has a full loss. Blog has a half a loss with Gunter tying. Siren and Delavis both picked them right so far. Detox has a point now, full loss point with Loop losing. Evil Smirk picked Detox and Gunter, so he has a full 1.5 points. He can only take 1 more loss and 1 more tie, and then he will be eliminated. 3 losses, and you are eliminated from the Survivor for the rest of the season. Gunter has a half a point as he took himself and ended up with a tie, and then he picked McLean. Limbocha picked Detox and has a full loss. Loop picked Detox and has a full loss. Manile picked Detox and has a full loss. McLean picked himself and Siren, so he's good and in. Nefarious picked Detox, so he's got a full loss. Novcaster picked Detox, he's got a full loss. Oni is the one that picked Delavis, so he's still waiting for Delavis to finish, but he did get McLean right. Arabi picked Detox, so he has a full loss. S Hunter picked them both right. I picked Siren right, and then Gunter is a half who drew, so I got a half point for him. Tenkin took himself and he lost, so he pulled the draw, so he's got a 0.5 on his total, with McLean being his other pick and good. And then Aldrig picked Loop, so he has a full loss, and Voreal picked Detox, so he has a full loss. And that's where we're sitting with the next week's Survivor. Or, I'm sorry, the current week's Survivor. And then for me, I picked next week, maybe, Survivor. There we go. Next week, I picked Arabi and Swerve, with myself as the admin pick against Manile. That was just more for fun than anything. Arabi and Swerve. Oh. And myself. So that's my picks for next week. Once you pick a coach, you cannot pick that coach again the rest of the season. So I can never pick Siren and Gunter again. So that's why we do this across the board here, to keep track of who picked who, and that way you can know if they've been picked previously or not.
You don't want them to pick me again ever anyway.
You never know. We won't have a choice on it now, though. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this back down to 100%. I think that's it right there. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And we'll do that. And we'll switch this back over to that. Alright, so we went through the betting cages and Survivor board. We did the betting cages odds, who I think is going to win each one next week. And let's see, where are we at on time? I haven't even been watching. We'll check out a quick review of the matchup of the week. I didn't really want to do this, but I feel like I have to. Just because it was a huge upset of the defending champ, we're going to go ahead and review my Goblin match as the match of the week. I didn't want to make myself the match of the week the very first week, but I just feel like that was the biggest, most fun match of the week at this point. Especially since we don't know the standings yet of any of the other teams. We don't really know where everything's at. So for the first week, I was just going to pick something fun and cool, and I think this is a good example of that. Yes, they were, S Hunter. Well, and it's not just that I upset a team, any team at all. It's the four times in a row defending champion Lizards. I think that in itself is worth a matchup of the week, right? So I had over 1,100 in inducements. I took Morg and Ripper. I also took a Wizard, 3 bribes, and a Wizard, 3 bribes, 2 extra rerolls, I think, and a Babe, if I remember correctly. And we'll speed through a lot of this. I'm not going to watch the whole game, the whole match. We'll hit some of the key points. I believe that the Lizards chose to receive. So I took my 2 of my secret weapons out, my bomber, or my bomber and my ball and chain. So I wouldn't have to use all of my. I did start with 2 rerolls, or I did buy 2 rerolls and a Babe. So that way I didn't have to waste all my bribes from at the end of his drive. I'm assuming he's going to score pretty quick to try to force me to start using my bribes on the Saul. I did leave the Saul out there though. He won Fan Factor, or he won Fame by 1. Because I rolled a 12, I think. Yeah, I rolled a 12, which saved me from being doubled up on Fan Factor, because he rolled an 8 and had a 12, so that was 22. If I'd have rolled an 11 or less, I would have been, or actually that was 20, sorry. If I'd have rolled a 10 or less, he would have doubled me up. And we are at my stadium, so star players are 50K less, and it was perfect Blood Bowl weather. So, start the half off. I get the reroll. Even though he had Fame, I had a cheerleader and assistant, so that canceled out the Fame. He does some hits here. Doesn't really do a whole lot of anything on the hits. Did take Morg down, but didn't do any damage. Yep, and then he does some maneuvering around. I think if I actually fast forward here, it goes to my turn, doesn't it? Yeah. So basically, there we go. We went back. So this is where I wanted to go. He moves his guys around. He comes over and he puts his strength broke skink on the saw to let the saw hit him, so the saw can't blitz and hit any of his key players, which is probably a smart idea. So he comes on around, he moves some other players around. Then he comes in and he tries to pick the ball up. He rolls a 1 to fail. Decides to re-roll it and rolls a 2 and double fails. He decided to re-roll it because he didn't want the ball to go to the pitch, because he knew that I could do some crazy stuff to potentially get to it. But he ended up double failing it anyway. So I do my stand-ups, I move players around, I blitz with Morg, and I go into the Crocs to try to get in here and mark the skinks up that are on the ball. And that works out great. So I get Morg up in there, and then I have this other troll. I move him up in there to kind of mark some players up as well. I chainsaw the strength broke skink and break him. So that's the first player off for the Gobbos. Do the dodge through with my pogoer, and I move him up and mark the ball. I come in to foul. I foul the Crocs. I got 3 bribes at this point. I'm thinking, all right, who cares? Don't do anything on the bribe, though. Then I start doing some dodges. I do a go for it to mark that skink up. And then I double fail that dodge. Or I fail the first one. He puts tackle on. I re-roll it, and I double fail the dodge. Hey, Morgan the Mod. How you doing? Don't roll 1, yeah. My rule this season and in this game was just do anything I could to have fun. Who cares? He immediately rolls a double skull and has to blow a second of 3 re-rolls, so he's already down to 1 re-roll left. Does some other movement and stuff around here. Doesn't do much of anything else. He does stand the Crocs up to put him back in the way. Does a hit there on Ripper and takes him down with his strength 5 Saurus. He blitzes the Pogoer and is able to take him down with tackle, but doesn't break him, which was huge. And what else did he do? Oh, he break tackles there to get the assist on this troll. That's right. Forgot about that. And he takes that troll down. But again, no break, no hurt. Then he starts moving his skinks back to try to get to the ball. And he double fails. Trying to pick the ball up with that skink, he double fails the dodge with a 1. I think it was a 2-1 if I remember right. Yeah, it was a 2-1. So then I do my stand-ups. I move my players around. Do a hit there with Morg on the Crocs. I break and KO, which was huge. So the Crocs is gone after turn 2. Morg is already starting to do his work. Start moving other guys around. Try to chainsaw this guy, but I don't break his armor. Get the open POW there with the skink on his dirty player sneaky get. I marked with this rookie goblin here just to keep that source from being able to move up and be free. I didn't want him moving up there. So then I come in and I foul the dirty player sneaky get skink, and I break him, cross him, which was good. So now the skink's off. The fouling skink is off, which is good. I forget right there that the Pogoer had leap. So I dodge out instead of leaping and saving myself to go for it. Failed the first pickup, but make the second one. And then I make 2 go for it with no reroll to get down here and get out of the way of this source right here. He immediately does a hit with the unskilled source and gets turnover block dice and has to use his last reroll. So the lizards are already out of rerolls by turn 3, which was a good thing. Then he kills my fowler, my sneaky get guy. And of course, I don't have an APO at this point. Or I didn't have an APO anyway, so I couldn't save him. So my fowler's already gone. But that's alright. Pushes Ripper there. Moving some guys around here. Does that so he can get the hit on the chainsaw, and he gets the POW. But unfortunately, he's not able to break. And he chooses not to follow. He thought that the chainsaw was loner. He forgot that they weren't, and that's why he didn't follow. He said if he'd have remembered, he probably would have followed to keep the chainsaw marked. So I go ahead and do some hits here with my players. Move Ripper around. Get the assist here. I come in with the saw. And I make the first go for it. I fail the second, or the chainsaw, but I re-roll it and then make the re-roll on it. And stun the edge boosted piece. Move my Pogoer down to get the assist here. So I can get 2 dice with the Gobbo. I just push him down. I bring Morg down to get the assist and to help cover up the Pogoer and the ball carrier. I bring that Goblin over to try to foul, but he fails to go for it. But he does get in the way here and mark stuff up to keep him, this Pogoer, pretty well covered. So he just does some moving around here. And does a couple hits. Gets a takedown there on my troll, but no break. Break tackles there to hit the saw. And he gets the takedown on him and KOs him. So he gets the saw off the pitch, which was big. Because I was planning on gonna start fouling with him after that. After that last hit that he did there. I was gonna start fouling with him, so. Moves his last couple pieces in and then gets to my half. Or my turn. Move Ripper in to get the assists for the 2 trolls here. Blitz with Morg on the skink. And I hit him. Don't break him though. Then I move Morg over to assist here with the break tackle. Move the Pogoer in 1 so I get away from this guy being able to follow in. Move everybody else in to kind of cover the Pogoer up and get potential foul assists there on the edge piece. Do the dodge out there. And then I choose to foul with this guy. Instead of dodging out the foul, I just straight up foul. And I cross the edge boosted, move boosted skink. He's gone for the rest of the match, which was a huge takeoff. That was the one piece that I really wanted to get off the pitch. However, I messed up and left him an opening on the Pogoer that I just did not see. Totally missed it. He got a 2-die block on him, but with no rerolls, he wasn't able to get a yellow to take him down because the Pogoer does have block. So I got extremely lucky right there. There was a bad misplay on my part. He gets to take down on a troll there.
Is this your premier game, Spider?
Yes, it is. This was my round 1 premier game. He goes uphill against Morg. What was that?
That was must be why everyone's in here watching the game.
Just doing it as a highlight. Trogel's really stupid as I try to stand him up. Ripper actually turned over with block dice. I made the loner row with him and then took the Saurus down and actually KO'd him, which was huge. And then my other troll went really stupid as well. Morg does a blitz. Doesn't take him down. I start moving guys around to cover up here, as I'm going to make a run for it and go potato out here with the Pogoer.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Holy crap, it's all set up.
And then I failed the dodge there. He had tackle on me, so I didn't even get to use the dodge skill. But I got to a point where I don't think he could... Yeah, I think he could just mark me with this guy. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, if he made 2 go-for-its with him, he could have just marked me. But instead, he chooses to go a different route. And the route that he went actually almost worked for him. He gets 2 dice hit here on this goblin, but is unable to take him down. So he has to use his break tackle guy there to take the goblin down. He does KO the goblin. If he could have taken that goblin down, he could have used his break tackle piece to blitz out. Instead, he's got to blitz with a rookie Saurus. And he's able to get there and make the go for it and get the POW. Which sucked for me. At that point, I was like, holy crap. But then he goes for it to try to pick the ball up, and he fails to go for it. The ball pops out. And now his Saurus is on the ground instead of being standing up marking the ball. So that was a huge decision to go for it there that failed for him. So I stand a troll up, I hit with Morg, do a couple of other things. I blitz with that troll, get the yellow to take him down, and I get a break, and I injure, which was a big injury at that point. So that was the first casualty for one of my actual pieces, my troll. And that source I took down was a block source.
Ooh, yum.
So then I move Ripper in to mark some source up. I move a goblin in, I foul on another source, and I break him, and I cross him. So 2 crosses that turn on source, which was huge. I do get caught. I do use a bribe, and it's successful. But that second one that I fouled was his block a guard, break tackle, armor 8 source. And then I dodge out with the goblin. I pick the ball up. I make both go for it to score. So I go up 1-0 in his half. Good first half for me. I get both my KOs back. I use a bribe to get the Saul back. He gets 2 of his 3 back, which the 2 he needed big time is Crocs and his other source. Like I said, I do use the bribe to get the Saul back, so I still have a bribe left. Line my guys up. He's still got 2 turns to score here, so still a chance for him to potentially pull it off. He does some hits, gets some guys moved around. He gets a source here. Didn't he have... Oh, whoops, I went too far. There we go. This is a good spot. So he brings this skink up. So he's got a potential here to bring this skink up on his next turn and get the ball to him and then score. So I choose to just go ahead and use my wizard here. And I zap the ball carrier, and it crosses him. Only a rookie skink, but it puts him out of range where he can't score now. Unless he pulls some really crazy, goofy shit off. And it takes a skink out of the game. So he's now down 3 skinks crossed for the rest of the game. So I really felt it was beneficial to use that right there and just make sure he didn't score. And I got lucky enough to get the cross as well, which was huge. I double skull with the troll. My loner fails, so I'm not going to be able to score here. And I injured myself. And he failed the regen, but it was just a badly hurt. So that was a bad turnaround for me there with that troll. And then his last turn, nothing really happens, I don't believe. He might have taken this. Yeah, he took him off. Or broke him at least. And piles on. Yeah, nothing there. I don't think he really did much of anything else after that. No. So then my last turn, I'm going to do some hits and stuff. And a potential foul. I know what I did here. You'll see here in a second. I'm not going to give it away. Do a blitz down here on the skink with Morg. Not able to take him down, though. Get the yellow on this this Saurus, which is what I really wanted. This is the only guy that I felt like would really had the potential to hurt me this game. And I decided to foul with the saw, but I roll a 1 on the kickback and injure myself. And Detox called that right before it happened. He's like, he's going to roll a 1 on the kickback and cross himself. And sure as shit he did. So my chance, really good chance there to take him out. Because it was, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 assists plus 3 with the saw. So that's 7 on the foul. And he's armor 8. So guaranteed break on the armor. And unfortunately, it backfired on me. And that turned out to be a potential game-changing play for the Lizards, because that Saurus was a monster in the second half. All right, so we go to my half. Getting all lined up here. All right. He's going to kick off. He's starting the half with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Lizards, and I've still got 11 players. I get a quick snap, so move all my players around. Hit with Ripper. Break and injure. At this point, every turn, I either KO'd or crossed the player almost, it seemed like. Every time a Lizard hit the pitch, if I didn't do it on the hit itself, I got him off on the foul. I mean, it was pretty much the whole game was like that. I mean, you can tell. Look at that. A ton of crosses and KOs throughout the game. A lot of them were on fouls, but some of them were on hits as well. But that's how Lizards, or how Goblins should be, right? You get a guy down, you should be fouling. And then I start playing Ring Around the Rosie with my ball and chain and just doing circles around the Crocs. Fail a pickup, use a reroll. Make the second one. Take off running with the Pogoer. Positioning players to get them where I want them here. And gonna foul the skink here into oblivion. He's only got 2 skinks left, and this is one of them. And I KO him, so now he's down to 1 skink left, which was my biggest fear at this point. He gets caught. I decide not to bribe him. I want to save my bribe. So my idea here is I'm going to try to score with the bomber and then use the bribe to get him back and try to score a second touchdown with him to get him leveled and hope that I could get the doubles for Hail Mary pass. So that was my goal at this point. The problem is he's starting to take me off with hits now. And he's keeping the numbers somewhat even throughout the rest of this half. Somewhat even. Not exactly, but closer. He chooses to pile on with Morg, which was surprising to me because he knows I'm going to foul. But that he chose to do that, and then he chose to foul. He boneheads with the Crocs. And it goes to my turn. I move Ripper into play to take assists away. Move my other troll into play. Move some goblins into play. Blitz with Morg on the last skink alive. Get the POW, which was huge. Break him and KO him. So now he's out of skinks, which is good. That's what I wanted. So now if he's going to pick the ball up, he's going to have to do it with a Saurus, and it's going to have to be a crazy play. Then I go back to playing Ring Around the Rosie again, around the Crocs. The exact same path I took last turn. I just did it in reverse order. I come up and I hand the ball off to the Bomber. He fails, so I re-roll it. He makes the catch there. I take off running for the end zone with the plan to score next turn. Try to make the dodge there to foul, but I fail the dodge. He jumps up, makes the jump up, makes the hit, piles on, and breaks there and KOs. So he takes one of my guys off just like I took one of his off. And that ended up being a big KO for him. Does the push there. Break tackles. Makes a straight up dodge. And then gets the tackle on the Bomber. Breaks him and KOs him. So there goes my plan of trying to level up the Bomber. And you will notice he makes the go for it and immediately fails it. So he uses the reroll and makes the pickup. And this is the Saurus that I tried to get out with the foul with the chainsaw, and it ended up screwing me. So now he's pretty much single-handedly about to save the day for the Lizards. So I move Ripper in to get the assist, move some other players around, start doing the Ring Around the Rosie trick again, and then I finally hit the Crocs. And then I hit him again, and I take him down on this one. No break, though. So now I got the Troll I blitz with. And get the blitz off. But I don't take him down. So I just push him in to the sideline, and then I move the Pogor here to try to keep. Because I know what he's going to try to do is he's going to... Well, and I foul there. Don't break, though. I know he's going to blitz this Goblin here, and then he's probably going to try to dodge out, so I wanted to make the dodges harder with the Pogor being there. Tackle there on the jump up, which he makes jump up again. It's twice now he's made jump up hit with the Saurus that he shouldn't have made. He gets the takedown there. Does not break, though. Does the break tackle, so now he's still got dodge here. And he chooses to just stay pat. So I rolled double skulls with the ball and chain. But I kind of got what I wanted. I wanted to free Morg up, and I did free him up right there. And then I hit the Crocs, and I break him. Now Ripper does his hit, and he gets the POW, which is what I needed, because this guy's dodged. I had to have the POW there to get what I wanted. Now I blitz in with Morg. All I get is a defender stumbles, which he's got dodge, but I'm able to push him where I want. Now this Troll, if he does not really stupid, he could push him here, and I could have got a 2-die uphill to try to surf, which I would have taken. But unfortunately, the Troll went stupid, so it screwed me. Now he decides to break tackle blitz this way. Hits the Pogoer and breaks him. And KOs him. And then he's going to start making a run for it. So you can see this Saurus was his superstar this game for sure. Making some go for it. He did have a reroll, and he fails the second go for it. But he does re-roll it and make that. So now it's pretty much left it up to Morg to try to be the savior, and he's got to get an open POW. If he doesn't get an open POW, then he just break tackles out and runs down, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. So Morg comes down, he does his blitz, and he gets the POW. Saves the day. Morg was the MVP for me, for sure. Not only does he get the POW, but he KOs him as well. So Morg definitely saved the game for me right there. Because I don't think, if I don't get the POW there, I don't think I can stop him. I think he scores and draws it up at 1-1. And he's down to 3 players on the pitch at that point. No, at this point he is. He was at 4 players at that point. 2 Saurus and a Crocs. So he's going to have a tough time doing anything at this point. I do an unassisted foul there. Break him. I do get caught, but at least the Crocs is broke, so he can't do nothing. I use my last bribe. Then I bring guy down. I make a couple go for it's and pick the ball up. His next turn, there's not a whole lot he can do. He's got 1 player to push. He does go uphill and get double yellow. And he did it on a blitz, so he's able to move out. Doesn't really bother me, though. I got Morg right here to push him off. Which I do. Oh, but he was stand firm, and I forgot about that, too, as I tried to push him off. Hit the source that's down there. And I hit Ripper, who I push into the Crocs. So he just marks the Crocs up. I go ahead and do the dodge out here, and then I just run on by. Detox thought I might try to hand off to him, but I decided not to. I make the unassisted assist and the go for it, and I foul with the troll. The big-ass foot coming down. And I KO the Saurus that I foul. Big troll. Bringing the foot down and making it work. So he does the blitz with the Crocs. Gets the POW. Injures the Goblin. And is able to follow up and get out and come over and mark the Goblin there with prehensile tail. But then he fails to dodge out with a non-break tackle piece. He did have dodge on him, though, but he still double failed that. So I choose to blitz with Morg because he has wrestle. I get the yellow anyway. Push him up into Ripper and break him. Just a stun, though. And then I go ahead and really stupid there with that troll. Go ahead and potato on out because there's no way he can catch me and get to me with anybody. I do get the ball and chain in range for the assist for the foul, and then I foul with Ripper. But nothing works there. Don't break him. And then he just runs the safety with his last guy. And on my last turn, I just go ahead and score. Gives me the 2-0 lead. And then on his turn 16, he does his couple of hits, and that's pretty much it. At this point, I have 5 players, and he has 2 players. He has 6 crossed. Yeah, he had 6 crossed and 4 KO'd. None of his KOs came back. So he ended up with 2. He 1-die hits with the Crocs there, and then 1-die hits with him and skulls, and then re-rolls to a push, so nothing, no damage done, nobody hurt. Yes, I'm going to do one game of the week every week, Rinjarni, and this was the game of the week of week 1. Ripper unfortunately stole my MVP, but hey, who's complaining, right? It really should have been Morg. If anybody was going to get it, it should have been Morg. He was the MVP of the game. But I ended up pulling a huge upset, 2-0. Every Monday I do a league cast in GOBBLN for the Premier, the High League, Rinjarni. And in that league cast, I do a game of the week. So, last thing on the list is highlights. And I had 1 set of highlights turned in, and that was Uldrig. And I believe he... Is he in Groin Strain? No, he's in Smashed Hand. There we go. This match here. So we'll catch 2 highlights here. Both of them featuring a Bull Centaur. And then that'll be it for this week's episode. Ah, thank you, Renjani. Appreciate that. All right, so the first one is turn 8. This is the Chaos Dwarves of Oldrig versus Angior's Necromantic team. So let's fast forward here to turn 8. Oh, went too far there, I think. All right, so let's see what we got here. We got 0-0. It's sweltering heat. It looks like the Necro have several players off the pitch here, including a couple KOs and maybe 1 or 2 that might have been surfed. And the Chaos Dwarves have 1 KO and a few guys off the pitch as well. And it looks like it is the Chaos Dwarves half. They have the ball. Or had the ball first, I should say. So let's see what happens here. We got a hit by a blocker on a zombie. Nothing. We got a blitz from a blocker on a zombie. Takedown with both down. And then we have the bull running in to get into scoring range. Looks like we're going to have a goblin pass potentially. Goblin picks it up. He could go for it twice to get to a better pass. He decides to just do the 4+. Makes the pass and the catch. So a goblin catch in the end zone for the first score of the game to go up 1-0. Pretty nicely done from the Bull Centaur there. So then, now we know this game ends 2-1 for the Necro, so the Necro score twice in this next half. But I think there was a chance for something crazy in turn 16. Yeah, so they scored quick there. They scored in 2 turns, it looks like. Yep. And then Chaos Dwarves have the ball. Oh, actually, they scored again really quick. So they got the ball back and scored a defensive touchdown a few turns later, actually. So he scored 2 touchdowns in about 5 turns, it looks like. So then we skip on up here to turn 16. And actually, this is turn 15 for the Chaos Dwarves. And looks like he blitzes with the Bull Centaur here. Takes him down, so he's going to run that Centaur up the sideline to try to get in range to score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. He's bringing a couple pieces down to protect the ball. He makes the dodge out from the ghoul there. Makes a go for it. Hands it off to the bull, who catches it. And the Necro was not able to get the ball out. So it looks like all the Centaur has to do, 3, 4, 5, 6, is make one go for it with sure feet to tie the game up. We got Pylon there on a wolf, but only a stun. We got another hit on a wolf here, but no break. I think we can all assume what happens here since we know the game ended 2-1. A double 1 fail for the go for it, on the go for it for the draw by the wolf. Or the bull, I mean. So the bull is the hero at the end of the first half to go up 1-0, and he is the non-hero in the second half as he fails to go for it and trips over his hooves. So instead of being what should have been a potential 2-2 tie, it ends up a 2-1 loss for the Chaos Dwarfs. Pretty crazy turnaround there at the end. You don't expect to double 1 that, but rolling the first one you kind of expect, but you don't expect to double 1 it, that's for sure. Pretty rough one there to end it for Oldrig. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it for this episode of the LeagueCast for Goblin Premiere. Hope everybody had fun and enjoyed it. We will be back next Monday night for the next episode, which will cover Week 2. We should have all matches completed by then, so we'll be able to do a full review of each division with all matches played and caught up. We'll have a good review of the leaderboard. Let's just double check real quick and see if those 3 matches there. Thank you to everyone for getting on and watching this episode. I will stop the recording here, but I will keep the stream up.
Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my mother and my sisters and my brothers. Lo, there do I see the line of
My people, back to the beginning.
Lo, they do call to me. They bid me take my place among them.
In the halls of Valhalla,
Where the brave
they live